Hi there, Zain. It's Andrew here, the essay corrector at IELTSpodcast.com. Happy Monday and welcome to your first essay correction. First things first, these look really good. You don't seem to struggle to write a decent amount, but my first point for you would be that this essay came in at over 400 words. Now, although there is no penalty for writing too much in the exam, if you include unnecessary information, you will lose points. Also, this is a time trial exam. We have a fixed amount of time. If we write a lot, we increase the risk of errors because we reduce the amount of time we have to think about our work and to proofread our work. It's actually best to write about 280 words, maximum 300, and spend any leftover time you have really getting to grips with the idea of proofreading. Obviously, as this is a handwritten exam, it's difficult to correct once it's written. So what we should really do is every time we go to write a sentence, just to really sit and think with it. Is this the best way, the most precise way to express this sentence? But let's begin by editing your task 2. So with an introduction, we're required to do 3 things. We need to discuss the contention, give our opinion, and briefly outline the ideas we will use in the body of our essay. So here, this background statement, I would say, first things first, is unnecessary. So we can get rid of that. So we can start with the contention. Some people argue that workers should be loyal to a single organisation for their entire professional lives, or their entire career. And then if we're going to use whereas, it has to be after a comma. Whereas others criticise this opinion and believe employees I'm going to say switch, not shift. Shift is to move a thing, but switch is to change it. At least once in their working life. My opinion stands strong with the former. Argument, due to the many advantages it brings in terms of job security and growth. So this is the bit I'm impressed with, actually. Most people don't cover the ideas that they will use in their body paragraphs, but you have. So this now is a great introduction. So it's just a case of cutting out some of the unnecessary information. So let's now move on to your next body paragraph. So a body paragraph should have one core idea that it fully explores, develops, and supports. So the first sentence of a body paragraph is the topic. So we can lead straight into the topic. So actually here, I would say, we can get rid of this. Actually, no, let's leave it as much you as possible. So let's get rid of that. Here, employees who remain loyal, and we remain loyal to things. To a company, I would say, are often given first priority I'm going to change this slightly. Are often given priority over external candidates. That's a good one. So external candidates are people applying for the job from outside the company. This is what we would say to refer to members of the public applying for this job. So employees who remain loyal to a company are often given priority over external candidates for new positions or promotions. This means that individuals can potentially rise up the career ladder I would say, because rising up the career ladder is to be promoted, so that's repetitive. So this means that individuals can potentially rise up the career ladder and thus earn a higher salary as long as they meet the prerequisites. That is one word. Without having to worry about external competition. As a result, employees feel the company is taking care of them, leading to increased productivity and subsequently greater profits for the organisation. Great. Furthermore, most companies operate a first in, first out policy when making redundancies. So this is good, but what's missing from here is an example. You've supported this positive paragraph with two reasons as to why employees should remain loyal, but we haven't supported either of those reasons with an example. So what we could say is here, to illustrate, Forbes magazine reported that the cost of recruiting new staff discouraged the majority of companies from using this method. Or we could say, Forbes magazine reported that the cost of recruiting new staff, when compared with promoting from within, discouraged the majority of companies from advertising jobs to the public at all. So we could actually just remove this section. It does support the paragraph. It is worthwhile being there. But my first point to you being that we should try to keep the amount that we write down means that we really should get rid of this, because as well, the examiner will expect this idea to be supported by an example as well. So every idea that we have, this one being about recruiting from within, this one being about job security, so opportunities and salary, job security. So we have two distinct ideas in the same paragraph. And although they are both arguing for loyalty, they are two distinct ideas. And two distinct ideas means you need two examples to support them. I'm going to leave that there though for now, but in your next essay, maybe let's try to write a little bit less. So despite the aforementioned, critics often argue that moving from job to job can bring about more benefits, such as higher salaries. Staying loyal to a single company can be slow when considering job progression. Hence it is believed by these critics that transitioning to a firm is not a person, a firm that is willing to give higher dividends, we pay dividends, accelerates professional development. Here we should maybe use a semicolon, and then we don't need that. Well done for that, by the way. Most people just use he, and it's absolutely correct to use he or she when referring to a not a specific person. So here, your example refers to slow-moving industry. So here we should explain that a little bit better. Staying loyal to a single company can be slow when considering job progression. As well-established companies or firms, well-established companies or what I want to refer to is this that's supported by your example. As a loyal workforce necessarily means that people leave less frequently, or positions become available less frequently. This can be seen when looking at the financial world. Take Goldman Sachs as an example, the largest investment firm in the world. A banker will find it difficult to progress due to the prestige and reputation that it holds. I'm not sure it's due to the prestige and reputation. Let's say, as the prestige and reputation that it holds creates a highly competitive environment. Hence he or she is more likely to move to another banking firm for a substantially higher salary instead of waiting a decade or more for senior staff to retire. We don't know whether it's going to be a decade, so we should just make this a little bit more ambiguous. Therefore, recouping the higher salary they deserve early on in their professional lives. That doesn't need to be there. So this also is just like a continuation. But this is a good paragraph. You have a very good writing style. It's very clear. You reason well, but we need to just trim your writing down a little bit. To summarize, although moving jobs, changing jobs, or even varying one's professional role brings about relative advantages such as higher pay, it does not ensure the level of job security and benefits I would say that's okay. It does not ensure the level of job security and benefits that remaining loyal to one firm provides. Therefore, I sincerely believe that remaining loyal to one firm is the best choice for an employee. We don't know which employee it is. So now, we are still at 383. So let's say that we delete this furthermore statement here. Just because. So now we're under 350. But remember, let's try to keep it at least, for now, I'm going to say I want your next task 2 to be under 320 words. But let's move on to your task 1, which is down here. Let's move it down a bit. So we don't need this comma. So with these, you're right here, with these task 1s, we need to have a definition of the table, a general statement about the shape of the graph, what's happening over time, also then some detail. So we can just say casualties of bird flu globally. The data is reported by the World Health Organization, and the acronyms are always given in capitals. Over a 10-year period, from 1990 to 2000. Overall, a positive correlation can be seen between ascending years and the total number of casualties from avian flu. Because we're going to be using casualties a lot, we could say those infected with, people suffering from. To begin with, the number of people suffering from avian flu infected persons. Here we can use casualties because it's in the final statement, but we should vary the language that we use slightly. To people who contracted avian flu. So with a different stress pattern, that word. So contract is an agreement that you sign, but contract is to acquire a disease. Contract also means to get smaller in this way, but when in the context of disease, we contract an infection, we contract a disease. So let's go. To begin with, the number of people suffering from avian flu from the year 1990 until 1991 remained stable. And then we can just say, estimated to be just over 120,000 infected persons. Actually, we should say, because this is not estimated, this is recorded. This is actual data. So we can say, measured at just over 120,000 infected persons. Following this, the morbidity rate, great phrase, increased to approximately 130,000 cases. And this number let's say remained constant until 1993. So a quick example, until can be shortened to till, like that, in speech, but not in writing. Till, like that, is a cash register. So it's these two go together, but this is not used in writing. This one is a cash register. So it's always until in writing. Until 1993. Thereafter, a relatively steady increase can be observed with regard to people who contracted avian flu. We don't need that. From the year 1993 until is this, I believe this is what, 1995? Okay. So 1990, a relatively steady increase, from 93 until 97, finishing the year at just over 140,000 cases globally. Lastly, there was a significant rise in the number of casualties stemming from bird flu. Here we could just say, actually, bird flu casualties. Okay, so here you were referring to the year before, and then a significant rise in 1997, jumping to 160,000. And here I would say, accepting a negligible accepting a negligible dip in 1999. And this remains stable for the remaining years, accepting a negligible dip in 1999. Good, now we're all good. This video has gone on for quite some time, so I'm going to cut it here. Like I said, the best thing to do is to hold up your original work and the new work and compare the two. I don't think you actually have any systematic errors. What we're going to be doing with you is polishing. So we need to reduce your word count in task 2, as well as generally just sort out some styling errors. But you actually have a great style of writing. I'm very impressed so far, and I look forward to correcting the rest of your work. But have a great day, Zain, and I'll speak to you very soon.